Today, we're here, part of our video series, to really help people that are thinking of moving out of California to a different state. And today, I just wanted to introduce my guests, Melissa and Kurt Hickman. I won't say where they're moving yet, or where they moved to yet, but we'll get into that in a second. Just welcome, Kurt and Melissa, and thanks so much for joining me today and really helping people out that really are thinking of moving out of California. So, first question to you is, where in California did you live before you moved out of state?
Go ahead.
We lived in Thousand Oaks, California, Southern California.
Okay, so Southern California.
Yes.
And what was life like for you guys when you were there? I mean, were you guys happy with where you lived? And I know you guys had a beautiful home and everything.
We did. We had a great home and a cul-de-sac. Thousand Oaks is a very nice, beautiful suburban city, lots to do. So we were there, maybe 18 years. Yeah, pretty much raised both our kids there for the most part. And yeah, so while we were there, it was a great place to live.
So what was really the motivating factors of you moving from Thousand Oaks out to where you're at now?
Well, there were a lot of motivating factors. Mainly it was how California was going, and it was not becoming a fit for us anymore.
Yeah.
We moved out in the midst of COVID, and so that played a big role. Our kids were still in high school at the time, and it definitely made it difficult for us, and it was one of the main motivations for us looking elsewhere.
Okay, so let's get on to where you went to. Tell us where you moved. What city and state did you go to?
We moved to Thompson Station, Tennessee. So it's a very small town that neighbors some bigger towns and cities, but it's in Middle Tennessee, about 35 miles south of Nashville. So right in the heart of Tennessee. And we love it here.
So it's near Tennessee. Would it be a suburb of Tennessee?
Yeah, it's pretty rural where we're at, even though we're in a neighborhood, a development. The next town is about 4 miles or so to the north of us, and we have another town, Spring Hill, that is about the same distance, about 4 miles south of us. So we're right in between Spring Hill and Franklin. But it really has a rural country vibe to it.
But within 10 minutes, we have all the things, all the big box stores, all the mom and pop places, and the mall and all that. So we feel like we're living out in the middle of nowhere in the country, but we're really not. So that's what we love about it. It's very, very beautiful here. And within 35 minutes, you can get up to Nashville and be at the airport and do all the Nashville fun things if you choose to do that. But we're not living in the heart of the city. So
overall, what's it like living in that area now versus what it was like in California?
Well, it's different.
In a good way.
In a good way.
Yeah, in a good way.
When you come across people that you don't know or you interact with, everyone here is really kind, outgoing, willing to help if you need any assistance, whether it be anything, grabbing a shopping cart while out here, a buggy. Versus just at a stop sign and letting you go instead of fighting for who goes first.
Manners are a thing out here.
Manners are a thing.
Very polite. Even the kids, everything's yes sir, yes ma'am.
I guess there's just more considerate of others. There's a lot of the big difference that we've seen.
And everybody's so social here. I mean, you could be in line at the grocery store and everybody will just open up and as Kurt said, very kind, very helpful, but they're just very, very social people. And it's very much kind of back to traditional roots of family and friendship and kids being kids, so we love that about living out here.
Also there, it seems, even though it's not, but it seems like it's a slower pace of living. I think it's probably mainly because it's less stressful. When you go out, you're not competing to get in front of someone on the freeway.
Say, here you go in front of us. Not
so it seems to be a slower pace, but we've come to appreciate it. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's beautiful. We love looking outside and seeing all of the trees and the hills and everything's in full color and
Green
yeah,
year round.
yeah. Except in the fall. The fall's gorgeous.
Yeah.
We get lots of foliage and whatnot, and it's just really beautiful to live in that and see the changes of the seasons, and just very different, very different.
Did you find it easy to integrate into the local community where you're at right now?
Oh yeah.
Very much.
Yeah, very welcoming. In every way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had people when we were moving in come up to us
Mm-hmm.
and welcome us to the community where we found the house at.
In fact, our neighbors on Facebook, they have an HOA group for our neighborhood, and our neighbor next door had been talking to Kurt, and they knew we were coming. And the night that we were moving in, we got here so late with the flights and everything, and they actually offered to order us dinner and eat at their house. We'd never even met them, and they said, "Come on over." And we felt a little awkward doing that, but they were so kind. But that is truly how people are here. You know, I mean, all the neighbors stop by. Can we help you unpack your pod? I mean, it's very easy to make friendships here. I mean, we've made so many friends in the neighborhood very, very quickly. And then we've made friends off of those friends. So everybody here is just very kind and warm and welcoming, very social.
Yeah.
How about the cost of living, like your taxes, your everyday expenses? What are the differences?
It's less expensive. That's for sure. I'd say it's anywhere from 30 to 40% less than in expenditures than what we were doing in California. And that's pretty much across the board. Fuel is for vehicles is cheaper.
Significantly cheaper.
Our registration for our vehicles is entirely cheaper.
Yes.
Here, it's just a one flat rate for each vehicle, no matter what the vehicle's worth.
$65.
Yeah. So that's a big. The utilities are cheaper in California. So we had roughly an 1,800 square foot home in California, and now here we have it's approximately 3,100 square feet. And our utilities here are less than what they were in California. And we're running our AC or our HVAC. It's on all the time. So we don't shut our thermostat off at all. So, when it's warm, the AC is on. And when it gets cooler, the heater's on. But we're not seeing, the cost is less than what we were spending in California.
And our property taxes are a third of what they were in California for a house that's almost twice the size. And there's no state income tax here.
So California's tax is 1%. Here, it's percentage-wise, it seems like it's more. It's 1.25%, but that 1.25 is on 25% of the home's value. Mm-hmm. So it's not a full. It's 1.25% of 0.25%. If that in relationship to California. And what did you
groceries, even though with everything exploding with inflation right now, groceries, because I just made a visit to California to help some family, and the groceries out here are significantly cheaper that I noticed than out there as well. Yeah. And that was just as of a couple of days ago. So just as he said, the overall cost of living from your everyday basics, but especially where we feel it the most is the big hitter bills like your property taxes, and that kind of stuff, fuel, and just the basics, the day to day. You don't realize what a big difference that is until you are out of that. So
there's also we don't have any there's no rolling blackouts like we had experienced in California. So even with some of the storms, which can be pretty impressive here compared to storms in California, which were very few. Here that happens, but even with those storms, there is no rolling blackouts. The utilities are on all the time. They're really, really good about that.
All right, and then I know you guys have 2 kids. You mentioned they were in high school when you went there. What were your thoughts on the school systems there?
Well, Well,
Go
our
ahead, Amber.
daughter had graduated. We let her finish school. She had some other commitments before we moved. So she was finishing up. Our son was going into his junior year. So that's why we chose to move. One of the reasons we chose to move when we did, because we didn't want to pull him his senior year. You know, that's hard enough being a high schooler, let alone doing that. And he was ready to go. He was on board. The transition was very easy for him. The schools do start earlier here, so he didn't get much of a summer. He had about 1 week off when we got here, and then he rolled right into school. However, we love, from a calendar standpoint, we love it because they get a fall break, they get a longer Christmas break. So scheduling wise, I thought that was amazing. They really push academics here. I mean, they do not mess around. They encourage any kind of secondary education after high school, be it college. They're really big on trades out here, which is what our son is. Both of our kids actually went to trade school. Our son is going to be going into hopefully aviation mechanics is what he wants to do. We have amazing trade schools out here. So they really encourage that, or the military. They just want to encourage the kids to think about their future, but they're not pushing just one thing. You know, they're opening their minds. But I mean, from day one, his first words when he came home from school is, wow, these teachers really want me to learn. They're engaged. You know, they didn't have all the lockdowns here. And so these kids are in school and they're learning. And academically, he has just flourished so much better than in California, and socially as well. I mean, the teachers have higher expectations. I mean, if you don't turn your work in, it's a 0. If you're at his school, if you're tardy, it's a detention to class. I mean, there is no messing around. So they hold the kids accountable, which is great. And then socially, I mean, he made more friends in probably 2 months here than he did 2 years of high school
when we left.
Yes. And they encourage sports, and he's an athlete as well. So that was really great. So the transition for him was very easy and kind of eye-opening. Like, wow, they really put a lot on the kids, you know, as far as academics, which, you know, we're all about as parents.
You know, we're here in Williamson County. And the school system here within Williamson County is one of the best in Tennessee.
In the state.
But in comparison to where we were at in California, it's amazing.
Yes.
The communication with the teachers, the counselors, was what we found. I mean, they were communicating with us during the summer. Which we were having a hard time even getting any information from the school that he was going to, or, you know, had been going to in California. It was like pulling teeth. But, you did mention that the school is sooner. They start in August.
But they're out before Memorial Day, which is great.
Yeah, with that, they're out before Memorial Day. And they also put in 10 days of snow days. So in case of bad inclement weather, they factor that into the school year. But we were really concerned when we first moved out with in relationship to the schools on getting him in at the beginning of the semester. Well, when we spoke with our counselor after we had gone through it, they're like, no, that doesn't have to be. You don't have to wait. She said, we get students year round, and we integrate them smoothly, you know, even within the semesters. So timing wise, if that's an issue, then for people at least coming to Williamson County with the school district here, you don't have to think about that.
And tell us a little bit about what you guys do for jobs, what your careers are.
Well, you go first.
Yeah. Well, we left California, so I retired from my job in California where I was a firefighter paramedic. But I have an RN background, and I have kept my RN license. And so currently I'm working as a mobile IV hydration nurse. And that's been great. It's been flexible for me, and loving doing that. We've noticed, like, we're both in the healthcare industry, and it was not hard to find positions within the healthcare industry. And Melissa,
I'm a personal trainer, and I had a pretty good part-time business in California, but I didn't want to restart that here. I wanted to do something else. So currently, I still stream a California client because she doesn't we didn't want to let that go. So I'm still working with her, but I'm currently working at an addiction recovery hospital, developing and running fitness classes for the addiction patients. So that's really, and that again was discovered through friends we met in the neighborhood. And so great opportunities. And so we're both still working in our field just a little bit differently. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been really great.
Yeah, so that was my question basically, is how are the employment opportunities there now? I know you're both in the kind of medical nursing area. What about other areas? Have you heard things?
The economy and everything is just continues to grow. So that's the one thing that we do see out here is a lot of growth in that arena. There's a lot of companies that are basing themselves here in the Nashville area, and we see new ones coming up all the time.
A lot of corporate offices, Dave Ramsey, GM plants here. They're just always building. Amazon has many facilities. I mean, In-N-Out's building a corporate office here.
Coming out here.
So many, and within 15 minutes of us is the Cool Springs area, and that's where a lot of the big headquarters are. So it's not far at all. And then obviously downtown Nashville has a ton.
Yeah, Ultium Cell.
Yep.
Production is their plant is out here as well, down in Spring Hill.
Schneider Electric is here. So there's plenty of job opportunities from high school. I mean, our son has worked 2 different places, you know. So, I mean, you can find your low-level jobs all the way up to high-end corporate jobs.
Well, man, Nissan has their headquarters here, Bridgestone, Pinnacle. So, you know, there's a lot of opportunities.
And, you know, you touched on a little bit about some of the weather stuff that you talked about. What's the weather like compared? Because this is the big question a lot of people ask.
Yeah.
What's the weather like in Tennessee, where you're at, versus California?
Well, it's pretty predictable. It's predictable to change.
Predictable to be unpredictable.
At any point in time during the day. So it can be raining in the morning, sunny in the afternoon, and then rainy in the evening.
People told us that. They said, if you don't like the weather, wait an hour, and it's absolutely true. We do get 4 true seasons here, which is amazing. And we're the yin and the yang, because I love the heat. He loves the cold. I don't shovel snow. So it's a good short-lived couple months of each thing. It's not too long, you know. So, but
and it kind of comes in waves. We just had a pretty hot, humid week last week, but this morning completely different. It's beautiful outside right now. I think it's going to be in the 80s high today, and the RH is going to be below 50. Yeah. So once it hits kind of that 70 range, it can kind of get a little bit not unbearable, but uncomfortable for sure for me
in the summer.
In the summer. Yeah. But it's otherwise pretty short lived. The spring and the fall is amazing out here,
and we do get a lot of rain, which is why everything grows so beautifully here. The fall, I mean, the foliage, it's just the bright, vivid colors. It's what you think of when you think of fall. I mean, the hay and the pumpkin and the whole thing. I mean, it's all out here. Summer is gorgeous. Spring, the flowers. Winter,
we do
get a flurry.
Yeah, we do get snow. So that was something that we had to, adjust to when we opened the doors. Like, oh wait, there's snow outside. That's pretty cool.
It's more the ice. Like the black ice is a little scary, but it's not very often, and they warn you about that, and they shut everything down. So if they're anticipating bad weather, I mean, literally the school's closed, the store's closed. They don't want anybody on the road.
When it rains, it does rain.
Yeah.
And it can come to, it's pretty impressive. The lightning storms here are pretty impressive as well. So there is some weather that we are getting used to. Mm-hmm. We're kind of a surprise, these last couple years, only because we're used to California weather, right? But we appreciate the change, and it is pretty amazing. It's quite a spectacle to watch.
However, the T word everybody asks about, including myself, the tornado. We don't say the T word. They do exist. They are here.
Happens.
However, where we are, they're very rare, although I say that because we just had one hit down a few miles from us a month or two ago, but that's pretty rare. So again, that's why you get the apps, and they tell you, they alert you on your phone, but we've never felt, indeed. And actually now we're to the point where, they say this, it'll be fine. It's kind of like an earthquake in California. They say it all the time, but they happen, but
Yeah.
few and far between. And so we've just sort of learned what to watch with the weather patterns and things.
Initially, we were pretty fearful, but
It's
I
scary.
think it was because of the unknown. It's like, okay, how bad is this storm actually going to get,
Yeah.
type thing. But now we can see what predictors are. We know, we have faith in the alert system that they have in place. They test the tornado system
Once a month.
the first Saturday of every month. So it's it's reassuring, and we've gotten much more comfortable with
but
that.
They can happen. I mean, you just have to know it's a possibility. But West Tennessee is definitely more at risk. They get so many more in the West Tennessee area. Middle and East, not nearly as much.
How about the bugs? What's it like with some of the bugs that you see in Tennessee?
All right, well, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So the first day we were moving in and sweeping the patio, there's a spider about that big that was coming down, and everybody laughed at me. I was trying to kill this thing with the broom, and I thought he fell on me. So there are big things here. However,
was a small spider.
It was not. It was huge. However, we live in a subdivision. It's pretty modern. If you're definitely living more in the country, you're going to have a lot more of that. But
Sure.
We spray for bugs, and honestly, we've seen like 2 spiders in the house. You just have to spray. The one thing we do have here, a lot of flying, stinging things, and like a million varieties of hornets and wasps, and they're a little aggressive. But again, if you spray,
yes, there are bugs. Yes, there are more than California, but that's pretty much with the weather. So you can pretty much predict during the season as to what you're going to have to deal with, and then you prep your house, accordingly.
Now, if you're going more east, again, more rural or in the mountains, you're going to have a bigger variety of things and the snakes and stuff. But around here, it's not.
We haven't had any snakes in the neighborhood, or even and we have trees in a riparian area even right across the street from us, and we don't have anything coming up to it.
I worried more about rattlesnakes at our old house than I do anything out here. So,
I don't know if you can remember back when you guys did move. What were some of the costs associated with your move, like moving vans, things like that?
Yeah, well, we did when we moved, we sat down and said, okay, what do we want to bring with us? Because whatever we're going to bring with us, we were going to buy. You're technically buying it again, and so we got rid of a lot. So I'd say we traveled kind of light. I was.
Well, we wanted to buy for this house because this house is almost
different.
Twice as big as our other house. The space is different. So we ended up using pods, and I did a lot of research on this, watched a lot of YouTube videos, what do people do? I will say, for our situation at the time, moving in a moving van was probably double or triple the cost of using pods.
Yeah.
So just putting that out there, you're more stuck with the timeline. You share a van with there were a lot of restrictions and almost double and triple the cost. Whereas because we were downsizing and not bringing a lot, I mean, we still brought a lot, don't get me wrong, but we did 2 huge full-size pods, but we used the pods. It was an excellent experience. You can just have them set it up. You fill it as you go. They pick it and they store it out here, and they literally drop it in your driveway.
Yeah.
And we just unloaded it in a day, and they brought the other one, and then we shipped our cars.
I'd say that was probably the best experience.
Yeah.
We were able to have the pods in our driveway in California for a good, 2 weeks?
Well, we paid a little extra to have them a little bit longer.
And so we weren't hurried in stacking our stuff in there. And we timed it out so that the stuff we knew we needed to have in Tennessee, we put that on the first pod that came out. And so when we arrived, our first pod was here already. But they have the pod has yards, so you can if you want to send both of them out and you're not going to be there, you can actually literally date or time when you want your pod to arrive to your house. So that went really smoothly.
And I was trying to remember how much the cost, to answer your question. I want to say even with shipping 3 vehicles, and one was a big truck, so that cost like twice as much as our 2 smaller cars. I think maybe it was 11,000 total, if that, because shipping the cars were a couple thousand, that's a long way to carry them, especially his truck. And we didn't want to drive. We flew with the dog in the carrier, and we decided to ship the cars, but the pods were maybe 5,000 total for both. I mean,
About
it was
that.
very inexpensive and so easy. Whereas a moving van, it was like $20,000, and that was just for the van. That wasn't even setting your schedule and with the vehicles. So if
Well,
anybody's considering it, I would highly recommend
and
pods if you're
and the
willing to scale
moving
down.
the moving van, because of how much we had, or the lack of how much we had, we would have had to wait for our stuff to arrive, because they were using the other portion of the trailer for someone
Like
else's
2 or 3
for
other
someone
people.
else's home. And so with that, the pods just, I mean, that was a no-brainer. In
Yeah.
in hindsight, I think we utilizing the pods,
Mhm.
shipping the vehicles out, and then and then flying out was the way to go.
And
And our vehicles took about 3 days
yeah, it was pretty.
from California to Tennessee.
Yeah.
And what we did was, our daughter had stayed in Tennessee, so we shipped,
Stay in California.
or I'm sorry, in California. So we shipped 2 of our vehicles here, and so we still had one in California. And then when we flew out, our daughter had stayed in California, and the day before she flew back out, we had her vehicle shipped. So we kind of spread those out, so we had at least had a vehicle here.
If we had driven our cars, knock a few thousand off that price, easy. It's just our vehicles are a little older, and we didn't want to put all the mileage. And frankly,
but
hotel and driving through for 4 or
Right,
5 days, it was like, I'd
but
rather just fly there and get there in 3 hours and be
right,
over it.
add 3 to 4 days
Yeah.
onto that itinerary, though,
And
and
expense,
the expenses that would ensue for that,
Yeah,
because it's over 2,000 miles.
yeah,
So
yeah. However, a little tip: we have talked to people that have made the move, and they've done half pods, and then if they have a lot of larger animals, they'll actually try to borrow a family RV or rent one
yeah,
and drive that with their animals, and so that also cuts the cost a little bit. So just a little tip if anybody's
Yeah.
thinking about that. We know some people.
we were
that have done
fortunate
that.
because our dog was small, and we were able
He fit
to
on the
take
plane,
him on the plane.
under the
So.
seat. So
But it was probably, I'd say about
10,
about $10,000 to $11,000
yeah,
is what we spent on moving costs.
yeah, roughly.
For people that are, in the process thinking about maybe making a move out of California, is there anything else that you can tell them?
I would say, if you're even thinking about it, be smart, do your research. We thought about this a long time before we did it. For us, we knew we were going to move. It was just a matter of timing with his work. But personally, for us, COVID just kind of was really that final push. And we're like, if we're thinking about it, you just have to rip the Band-Aid and do it, because we have not met one person out here that has moved. And believe me, there are a lot of people from California moving here. It's kind of the joke. But not one person we met has ever regretted doing it.
No, and
do your research.
Right.
But if you're thinking about it, come visit. We came 2 or 3 times, different seasons, and look at that.
recommend doing that.
Yes,
for
just
sure.
to get a feel, look at different areas.
and different locations within Tennessee.
Yes.
So visit Middle, visit East, even visit Southern, down by Chattanooga.
Yes.
We have some friends that have moved down there as well, and they love it. But definitely come out and see it. But
From a local perspective, though, don't just do the touristy things. Do what a local will do. See where your grocery stores are. Talk to people.
And
how would I live my life out here?
And come out and make a couple trips and have a time to where you can experience the different seasons and what if that's going to be a fit for you.
Yeah.
Because you're definitely going to have, the weather's definitely different.
I've heard of a lot of different places and states and stuff where if you say you're from California, the natives don't like it.
Yeah.
How is it there?
Well, interesting that you say that, because we were out last night, and there was a couple that was sitting in front of us, and they turned around and we just started chatting, and at some point during the conversation as well, where are y'all from?
We don't say where we're from. Yeah.
And so in the past, we've been hesitant to admit, hey, yeah, we're from California, only because we thought that would be a stigma and prevent people from actually like wanting to get to know us.
There is a little bit of a stigma. They do look at you for a second, but then
anyway, I don't normally get that. So it was really nice to get from them that, yeah, hey, no, you're here, you're people too, and we love that fact that you're here. So
well, that's what I was going to say, because there are so many, especially our neighborhood is a lot of Californians, a lot of people from New York and Chicago, and so if you meet a local, they do kind of look at you for a second, but they're not rude, and they're like, well, we're so glad you're here, welcome to our state. Remember, this is Tennessee, not California, and they want you to embrace their living here as we do. Otherwise, we wouldn't have wanted to come here, but they are very warm and welcoming.
So I think I know the answer to this, the last topic. Are you very happy, or are you happy that you moved to Tennessee?
Yes. Yeah, if you couldn't tell. Yes. 2 years into it now, in hindsight, we made the right move.
Yeah, love it here.
Made the right decision. We're going to be here for a while, that's for sure.
It was just timing for us. We had kids and work and all the things,
right,
to consider. But no, all the pieces fell where they needed to fall. So,
would you guys be open to, if someone reached out to me and said, hey, I want to talk to Kurt and Melissa about Tennessee, would you guys be open if I connected you guys?
Oh yeah, sure, by all means.
Course,
yeah,
of course.
Okay. All right, perfect. Yeah, so we'll end it there. Again, thank you so much. And I totally appreciate this, and it's going to help a lot of people. So thanks.
Very welcome.